am I here? How did I get here?
You don't know?
The last thing I remember was being in the cottage, and I finally fell asleep.
You must have been sleepwalking.
I had terrible dreams.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can't anyone forgive me?
I was drawn back to this spot.
Shh, hey, relax. Drink your brandy.
Where you found me just now, on the floor. That's where the coffin stood all those years ago, remember?
I remember the coffin. We were both so young, Sheridan.
Tell me what you remember.
Well, I remember hearing shouts the night they found you standing by the coffin in this room. And they warned me never to say anything about it to anybody.
You must have been so frightened. So confused.
All I knew is that you were my aunt and I loved you. It upset me to see you so distraught.
I know.
The next day you were gone. It was years before I saw you again. I didn't know anything about the body in the coffin until you told me years later that it was your fault.
Yes.
You're so vague. You refused to tell me anymore.
I wanted to protect you.
I want to help you. And won't you tell me what happened that night? Exactly what happened that night, Sheridan.
I don't remember everything. It's all such a distant memory.
But there's more than you told me.
All I know is what I was told. That I was responsible for the body in the coffin.
Do you remember where they sent you the next day?
France. To a little farm with my nanny. Whenever I asked about that night, they told me that it was all in my imagination. Just a nightmare. But it seemed so real.
Yeah, of course it was real.
Well, that's what I thought. But the French doctors, they all had me convinced that it was just a bad dream. I believed that for many years.
Until you came back this time.
Yes. The moment I walked into this house, it all came back to me. It wasn't a dream. I knew it was true, that I was at fault for the death. And then tonight...
What happened that made you sleepwalk?
Well, you know, I went out to dinner with Hank. The restaurant that we went to had a magician, and I was stupid enough to get involved in the magic act. Being locked in a box. I felt like I was in a coffin. I just started to panic.
I can understand why.
Well, that's not the worst of it. Luis was there. He saw everything. Well, I was babbling something about it being my fault. He started asking questions.
He doesn't know anything about that night.
No, but I said enough to pique his interest. And Pilar told me that he already questioned her about what could have happened to make me behave the way I did.
Well, she didn't say anything to him, did she?
No.
No, she won't. She may be Luis's mother, but she's worked with the Cranes for years, and she cares for you very much. She'll never tell.
Yeah, she said she wouldn't.
There isn't anybody who's really going to find out what happened that night. The family's hushed it up.
Just wish that I could forget about it. I mean, I've been to therapy, I've been to hypnosis, I've tried everything and nothing's worked. Ethan, I'm so frightened that that night's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life.
Sheridan.
There are nights that I wake up screaming.
You can't go on like this. I have an idea. There may be a way to stop these nightmares. Come with me.
Where?
Get dressed. We might be able to get some answers. No, turn it off. Someone might see the light from outside.
Why are we even here? I'm sure there's nothing in the paper. My father wouldn't have allowed it. I was the great family embarrassment.
Grandfather Alistair would have been able to keep the incident out of the newspapers, but the death had to have been reported to the police. And maybe they kept some kind of record, or maybe the doctor signed the death certificate said something. I'm looking for anything, any kind of clue that might tell us exactly what happened that night.
I'm not sure I want to know. I mean, it's traumatic enough knowing what little I do know. Having details might just make it worse.
Yeah, but it might make it better.
How?
Maybe the truth might be very different from what you remember.
I just don't know if I'm ready for the truth yet, Ethan.
Sheridan, not knowing the truth isn't helping you, is it? So let's see what we can find out. And no matter what we discover, you know I'll stand by you. And no one else will ever know what we find out, okay? Ah, here we are. This is published the day after the death. Let's see what we can find in here.
Ethan, wait. I'm not sure I want to read about it. I mean, what if it's much worse than I imagined?
Sheridan, have you ever heard the old saying, the truth will set you free?
I've heard it, but I don't know if I believe it.
Look, how much worse can the facts be than what you imagine? But if you're not ready for this, we can just forget about it and leave.
Oh, go ahead. My life is already such a mess. Not gonna get much worse.
Well, you better hang back. I don't know what I'm gonna find in there. Sheridan, someone's in the hallway.
What the hell are you doing in here?
You can come in now, Hank. I don't think these crooks are dangerous.
Sheridan, what are you doing?
That's a good question. I'll bet you have a good answer. I'll start with you, counselor. You want to give me your story?
I'm sure you've got a good reason for being here, but are you all right? I mean, you look a little pale.
I'm fine. Just a little annoyed that once again Officer Lopez Fitzgerald is in my face.
He's just doing his job. You look like you could use a good night's sleep.
It's been a long night, as you know. Thanks again for taking me for a drive after I got myself involved in that horrible magic act. And for not asking any questions. You're a true gentleman.
Okay. You all right? You look like you were gonna faint.
Felt like I was gonna faint. The last person I wanted to see here tonight was Luis. And now he's probably even more suspicious of me.
Yeah, Luis Lopez Fitzgerald was born suspicious. That's why he's a cop. Besides, he doesn't have any reason to be suspicious of anything you do.
He doesn't seem to need a reason.
What? We were looking through some old newspapers. What's he gonna conclude from that?
And what if he looks through the same papers?
He'll find the same thing we found. Nothing. I mean, look. No mention about the death or funeral, nothing about you going to France or why. It's as if the night never happened.
Wait a minute. I remember now. It was around the same time that the family bought the newspaper. No doubt to cover up the story of what I did.
Family guards its secrets very carefully. Buying the newspaper is probably the easiest way to do it.
The crane mentality never ceases to amaze me.
Sheridan, be glad they could keep the story out of the media. And this way, no one will ever find out what happened that night, so just forget about it.